your eyes. Now, what's the first thing your eyes draw?
The man with the saxophone.
Caleb?
The light in the middle.
I would like trying to understood close. What I saw is a saxophone. You're probably wondering how Aaron Douglas, or other known as the father of African art, did that. Well, that's just one of Aaron Douglas's great styles that he used in Song of the Towers and all of his paintings. Aaron used value. Value is an element which makes objects stick out by having light and dark colors contrast. Now look around the saxophone. Do you see the sound waves get darker as they go? That's value. Aaron Douglas has many styles like that. He uses shape a lot too. See if you can find some shapes.
Circles going around the saxophone, like going bigger.
Caleb?
Rectangles like in the mountains.
I could see that the skyscrapers are made of rectangles and the sound waves look like circles. But there are some of Aaron Douglas' styles that I don't really like I would love to change. Like how he named his painting Song of the Towers. Do you think Song of the Towers is a good title? If not, what would you name it? I think it should be called The Great Migration. Because the Great Migration was at the end of slavery, when slaves traveled north for a better life or better opportunities. I'd also like to change how Aaron Douglas put green wavy lines across the painting. I'm not sure if it's one of his styles, because looking back at his other paintings, I don't see it. I'm also not sure if it's the style of American modernism or smoke, but whatever it is, it's confusing. Have you ever heard of American modernism? Or do you know what it is? And if not, it's okay. American modernism was in the beginning of the 20th century, between World War I and World War II. American modernism was mostly abstract art, and the two most famous American modernism artists were George O'Keeffe and Aaron Douglas. American modernism was mostly in the form of videos, visual art, music, style design, and many more. One really unique thing about Aaron Douglas is that he doesn't only make paintings like oil on canvas or murals. He also illustrates books and illustrates magazines. His two most famous magazines were The Crisis and Opportunity, the two most famous magazines associated with the Harlem Renaissance. Now, you're probably thinking that the Harlem Renaissance was first in Harlem, New York, and second during the Renaissance. If you thought that, don't feel embarrassed, because that's what I thought at first. The Harlem Renaissance is called the Harlem Renaissance because it was in Harlem, New York, but it wasn't during the Renaissance. It was like a restart or a rebirth for African Americans. That's why it's called the Harlem Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. The Harlem Renaissance was mostly a time when great writers, great musicians like Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, and Bessie Smith, and great painters like Augusta Savage and Aaron Douglas could get jobs like making studios, teaching, illustrating, or writing magazines, making plays and musicals like Shuffle Along or more. Many whites started becoming or loving their work so much they started getting involved or just really enjoying it, like me. Aaron Douglas had a huge desire to learn. He mostly wanted to learn about African and modern art, so he went to the Barnes Foundation in Marion, Pennsylvania. Also in 1928 to the 29th, Aaron Douglas moved to Paris to learn more traditional French paintings and drawing techniques at the Académie Scandinave. When I paint, my goal when I'm done is to be able to recognize it, not to be the best artist in the world, like Aaron Douglas. See if you can tell which city it is in. Read.
New York, because you can see the Statue of Liberty.
I could tell that it is in New York too. First, I see the skyscrapers, and second, I see the statue. That's why I picked this painting. Not because I love New York, but because I like how Aaron Douglas used symbols to tell the story. I also see a slave with a briefcase running away from a black dark hand, which I think symbolizes a slave's owner trying to bring the slave back. And I also think the slave has a briefcase because it's showing how the slave is moving north for jobs or opportunities. I also see in the bottom there are little cotton flowers, and I think that symbolizes the slave running away from slavery because slaves pick cotton. I've seen many of Aaron Douglas's paintings, and most of them were slaves fighting for freedom or trying to run away from slavery. So in my interpretive piece, I made an African-American man looking back at his heritage, looking back at sports like Jackie Robinson, looking back at the Harlem Renaissance, at the Great Migration and when they followed the Big Dipper, and also looking back at slavery. And I also made the sound waves like Aaron Douglas did. Aaron Douglas was a great artist, but also a great man. He had many great paintings, including the 4 panels of aspects of a Negro's life, which include the Song of the Towers, the Negro in an African setting, from slavery through Reconstruction, and an ideal of the Negro's life. Aaron Douglas also inspired many artists by how he painted African Americans in their past. I hope you and I will be able to end this presentation knowing how Aaron Douglas was such a great artist and also a great man, and lived like he did. Even when times are tough, have a good jazzy song with him.